Patrick, how are you today?
I'm feeling good, feeling great. It's Monday.
I know you feeling great. What is it like right now, brother?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know. I'm not sure I've given myself enough time to really feel it right now. But I'm glad to know it's written. I'm glad to know that it's coming out into the world. It's such a special project. It's nothing like I have ever really read before. And so like ecstatic. Yeah, I just, mm-hmm.
I can see it on your face. I can see the grin. I can see the glow. It's coming
Yeah,
in.
he's
It's coming
there.
in. You
Yeah,
know, the spring weather is definitely influencing that a little bit. And I see all your tweets. I see how active you are on social media promoting this book, The First Five. What goes into a project like
oh my
this?
gosh, so much heart. You know what I mean? Like, one thing I say all the time is that there are a ton of education books that get published, with each season. When I chose to make the decision to write a memoir, I knew that I was in for something a little bit different. A lot of the books that are marketed towards teachers, that are written for teachers, are instructional, right? I mean, it makes sense. We're a profession, right? And what I found, particularly like in these last couple of years, is that folks are trying to solve what is happening to teachers. I'm talking about teacher shortage. I'm talking about a burnout. I'm talking about not feeling supported. I'm talking about not feeling or not being paid, right? Like all of these like overarching issues. What I'm finding is that folks are just saying, well, if we just teach them to do this, right, then they'll stay a little bit longer, right? If we just teach them to do that, if we get them this book, if this strategy can, you know what I'm saying, like be given to teachers, then all the problems in the world will be solved.
Right.
What I found and what I've experienced is that more often than not, we have enough in our toolbox. Actually, my toolbox is overflowing. I don't need no more strategies, right? What I do need is to know that what I'm experiencing in school every single day is not an anomaly. I just tell me that I'm not crazy, right? Instead of sharing strategies, I kind of want to start reading stories, right? I want to know that there are other teachers out there that are experiencing the same things that I have experienced. And I chose the first five for a very specific reason. One, I'm still relatively new. I just made it over the 5-year threshold. I'm now in my seventh year of teaching. And that first five is crucial for teachers, right? Like we know that 50% of teachers leave after the first five. I grew up hearing that if you make it past your 5th year, then everything would just be all gravy, baby, right? But we know that that's not it. And so when I wrote this book, I said, okay, I'm writing stories. So I'm like centering kind of my experiences and I'm reflecting on them.
You also interviewed dozens of teachers, a wide variety of teachers.
Yeah.
What was the main takeaway that kept them going longer than 5 years?
Oh my gosh, so many things. First of all, I just want to shout out to Dr. Michelle Foster, who wrote the book Black Teachers on Teaching, which is a book of teacher interviews from a variety of eras. And so I was so inspired by Dr. Foster. And I knew that I didn't want my experience to be the only one in the book. So I was able to recruit over a dozen teachers to come and share their story. Why are they still there? Oh, so many reasons. One theme that I kind of heard throughout the experience is community, right? Like, if we're gonna be in the trenches, we're gonna be in the trenches together, right? Like with the
I hear that. I hear that.
some people, it was about finding the right place for them, finding the right school and the right environment that gives them the longevity in that profession. In some cases, there were teachers who had to move overseas, right, to kind of reinvent themselves and to start over. And for some teachers, right, it meant leaving, right? Like not every teacher that is interviewed in the book is a current classroom teacher, right? Some folks had to move on, and they talk honestly about that too. So it's a variety of reasons why teachers stay and teachers go, but I think that that speaks to this overall narrative that teachers are human beings, and this is human work, and sometimes it requires us to, move in a different way.
So we're seeing a teacher shortage right now. We're seeing how difficult it is for teachers right now during a pandemic. You're a teacher, you're in grad school, you're you're a media strategist, podcaster, you do it all. Yet your book is interactive, it's instructional, you did interviews. Why put so much on your plate?
I'm just impulsive, right? And so like sometimes I have these urges to I have a thought and I have a vision, and I need to do it right now, right? And I think I've always been that way. I've always kind of stretched myself thin throughout my 20s, and throughout my high school years as well. I'm kind of getting towards the end of that that part of my life. But I think that when it comes to grad school, I knew that I wanted a master's degree, but I didn't want it in education. I really wanted to learn something new. So I started that during quarantine, and I was like, okay, I actually like this program, and so I'm gonna stick with it. And the book is interactive, right? Not just in questions or things that folks can take away, but like the book is deeply visual, right? And I knew that I wanted to speak to a variety of folks who pick up books to read, right? Like it's not a traditional book, but it is something different. So a part of me is just a visionary who absolutely loves just like making things happen.
And so where does
Time though, man, they get on me, they tell me like, you can't tell us not to overexhaust ourselves, but you're doing the same thing. And I said, well, read me then, read me.
I know you're doing so much right now, but it's all in that thirst for learning, that thirst for teaching and giving back. Where does that thirst come from?
I hate to say this, but it's kind of like always been in me. I think I've always been a naturally curious kid who has never really been satisfied with the now, right? I think a part of it is because I have phenomenal teachers growing up who are multidimensional, right? I talk about in the first chapter of the book that I had teachers who, weren't just teachers in the classroom, but who were chamber choir members, who were voice actors, who were doctors, right? Like teachers who wore multiple hats. And I knew that I wanted to be like that too, right? I never really wanted to feel boxed in, but instead I want to have a wealth of human experiences that I can then bring back into the classroom to share with my students.
You are a Black male queer teacher. You wear many hats. You have so many labels and so many titles. What does showing off that diversity in your classrooms each day do for your students, and how do you wear those titles on your shoulders and on your sleeves as you teach in the classroom each day?
Well, first of all, I wear them proudly and loudly, right? Like I need students to know that I am Black, that I am queer, that I am from Detroit, right? That I am a horror lover, that I love WWE, that I'm a part of, a Black Greek fraternity, right? Like these types of things that are a part of my identity. Students need to know that part of who I am, right? Not that I'm just a teacher or that I'm just a Black male teacher, right? But I am all things, right? And I want students to see me as such. And so a part of that just looks like straight up modeling, right? Like I teach sixth grade, and the core question in sixth grade is, who are you? Right? Who are you as a person? Even though people say, oh my God, they're just figuring it out. Yeah, but they're reflecting on it, right? They're creating a base for the rest of their lives. But when we're talking and we're talking about identity, right? Like I share these parts of who I am. And it's so funny because I talked to a colleague of mine yesterday, the person who shares this wall with me, and so many of my sixth graders take her creative writing class. And in the creative writing class, they were doing a lesson on characterization. And so, characterization, there are, internal traits, there are external traits. And so she was telling me how they were doing an exercise where they chose a teacher and they were kind of doing this iceberg activity, right? Where there's things that you can see about the character and there are things that you can't see about the character. And so they chose me as someone to kind of like brainstorm things about. And she asked him like, okay, well, what can you see about Patrick, right? And some people were like, okay, he wears glasses sometimes. But students were like, no, he's Black, right? They said, we know that he's tall, but like them saying that I was Black meant a lot to me. And beneath the iceberg, they're like, and he's queer. He practices Buddhism. He is a part of a fraternity, right? Like he loves horror movies, right? So these things that are very much a core of my identity, students are able to kind of like, see all of me. And if they can see all of me, then they can see all of themselves. And if they can see all of themselves, and they can see all of their friends as well.
So give us a little insight. How much of that are you pouring into this book? How much of Patrick are you pouring into these?
Oh my God. Listen, when I tell you that this book is a emotional roller coaster, because I am giving you all of me. I think there are 4 words, that I say that describe this book. Nothing is off limits. You know what I mean? From the very beginning, exploring my childhood and kind of like how that contributed to the ways in which I see myself as a teacher, to growing up Black and queer and how that shaped my educational experience, to every hiccup I faced in my first 5 years. It's in there unapologetically. And I'm honest, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's what I have been known for in the teacher education space, right? Is like, Patrick's going to give it to us and he's going to give it to us real, right? Like I have teachers who tell me all the time, right? Like I can relate to you, right? Because I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not trying to package anything up for you. I'm literally just sharing my experience and what I am and my reflections and what I have encountered in these last 5 years, because no one was honest with me about what there was to expect when it comes to navigating the education system, navigating it Black, navigating it as a Black male, navigating it as a Black queer male teacher, right? And so it's an honest first person narrative with some deep reflections, but that's also going to help teachers to reflect on their experiences too. Because what I find specifically in education is that we are so focused, as I kind of said earlier, right? Like on the next thing, right? The next lesson, the next unit. Right now we're in May, we're probably focused on the next school year, right? And we don't really take a lot of opportunities to reflect on our experiences, right? And reflection is teachers' greatest tool. So I'm excited because I am just, I don't want to say this, but I'll say it, but I'm modeling.
Go ahead, Patrick.
I'm sort of modeling what it means to like pause and to reflect on all the things that we experience every single day.
In your reflection, and you say you're a truth teller, you're honest, you're pouring everything into your book, you're being real.
Yeah.
You also are critical of education.
Yeah.
You're very critical of the system of education. So give us the real, what needs to change in education moving forward?
Yeah, well, first, you're always super critical of something that you love, right? Like I grew up loving teaching from afar, right? And a lot of reasons why teachers are so angry and frustrated is because we love this profession so much. And we know how great it can be. We know the power of school. We know the power and the necessity of education. And so we can, we don't want to just sit by. What needs to change? I want folks to know that, like, you cannot say that you care about kids while at the same time not caring about their teachers and about the adults who are on the ground working with them every single day. I'm not sure how we're not calling the teacher shortage and the teacher turnover rate at this point in time the the one of the largest crises in our country right now. If we are who we say we are in this country, then we must, feel something in our gut when we say that 50% of teachers leave after 5 years. We must believe in our gut when we say like something in our gut must be triggered. Like when we find out that like half the teachers in our school are not coming back next year, right? Like something should be triggered within us. And so we got to find the money to pay teachers not just a living wage, but a wage that is truly comprehensive of the work that we are asked to do on a daily basis. And I've worked in all of the schools. I've worked in traditional public, traditional charter, tuition free and tuition based private and international, all salaries across the board. This is a global issue, need to rise immediately, right? This is a human service, right? But bills need to be paid, okay? And so we must pay our teachers what they're worth. We must also take this opportunity to reimagine, right, this system that we are in every single day. We can easily eradicate toxic standardized testing, right? That can go, right?
No more SATs, no more ACTs, none of the alphabets.
I don't see the purpose of it, honestly, right? I think that there is a more creative way that we can measure and assess students, right? Teachers are not anti-assessment, we're just anti-standardized testing. And I think that there's a better and more creative solution to comparing students across districts, across states. And then I think thirdly, right, is I think that our students' mental health crisis should also take the center stage right now. There are so many students who question and wonder, is school worth it, right? Like, is this something that I truly and honestly need? And that's a good question to ask. And I think because so much of school feels irrelevant to a lot of students, it's something that we have to take into consideration, right? Do we need to go to school 5 days a week, right? Do we need to be in school 8 hours a day, right? Do students need core classes in this particular format, right? I think the more that we can increase student autonomy into crafting the educational experience that they want will help this system become more relevant and more personal and more long lasting.
I really appreciate you giving us those brave and real reflections about education, the time period we're living in right now as a current teacher. And there's a huge takeaway there in this book, an overarching one, that 50% of teachers leave after 5 years, right? We're talking about, people as young as 25 years old who are out of there, gone, and can't even stand, working in that profession much longer due to the pay, due to some of the other challenges and factors that you mentioned. But let's end off with your book specifically. We're talking about 5 days a week, the first 5. So I'm gonna give you one more question with the number 5 in it.
All right.
5 takeaways from this book. Why should we go get it? Why should educators, anyone, read your book?
5 reasons. Wow. Okay. Number 1, it centers the perspective of a Black queer male teacher, right? Like, that's not something I have read before from a current teacher. And so that I think is going to offer a unique perspective. 2, it's not telling you what to do, right? But instead, it's just offering you space to reflect on your own experiences, to create solutions that are important for your context, right? I think teachers have had enough of being told what to do. Number 3, it's a beautiful book. I'm gonna just be honest with you. It's people don't even know, but it's a square book. It's perfect for like something that's on like on a coffee table in a teacher, office, or great on a bookshelf, great at your house, right? Like the photos in the book are gonna blow you away.
Go ahead and throw the aesthetics in there. We love it. We love the aesthetics.
That's important. That's important to I know what generation I'm marketing to, right? Like I'm marketing to a younger generation, and we are a visual people. And so folks need a visual book. So go ahead and pick that up for that reason. 4, the questions are going to make you think, right? Like, and they're not questions that you are gonna have the answer to. There are questions in every chapter that are going to cause some debate amongst you and your teacher friends. I promise you. And even if you are not a teacher, number 5, it honestly is just it's a read that is just enjoyable, right? What my marketing team, has said, was like, yo, these are like, if people are looking for a new teacher bestie, right? Like you are going to be it for many of them, right? Like there are so many emotions that I'm going to take you throughout this book. There are going to be moments where you are like cracking up laughing, right? And if you got the audio book, you'll hear me laughing right along with you, right? There are some folks where you get teary-eyed, right? There are going to be some folks where you just like, your jaw drops to the floor, and for many folks, there are going to be a lot of preaching to the choir, you know what I mean? Like, and that's okay. We need those books too. So as I said, bro, this book it's boldly unique. It is so timely. Like, man, like it couldn't come out at a better time. And I hope that teachers and people who are not educators, right, folks who are young and trying to navigate their own spaces, because the questions are that thought provoking. I hope that folks read this and just have a greater sense of self, and they're able to continue contributing to the world in the ways that feel right to them.
Thank you so much for pouring into your students, pouring into this book, giving me all the 5 reasons and takeaways that we should get the book, and just being so helpful, as an author and as a teacher right now. The author of The First 5, A Love Letter to Teachers. It's a memoir by Patrick Harris II. You can pre-order it right now, but it will be in stores May 10th, Tuesday, May 10th, coming right up.
You could support me by following me, at President Pat on Twitter is where I'm most active, Instagram most times. You can follow me there. You can visit my website to find out more information, or to contact me at www.itspatrickharris.com. But really amplify yourself, amplify your own voices, right? Like use this book to tell your own story. Sit down with your mama, your daddy, your colleagues, your students, and like share stories, because that's what makes this work worth it.
That's what makes it worth it. I appreciate that. That's so, so important. I hope all the educators out there who are listening, who are part of this community, run out and get the book or pre-order it now in stores. The First 5, A Love Letter to Teaching. Thank you so much.
Thank you.